Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Thank you all for tuning in to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Evan Worley, and happy Friday to everybody out there listening to the show. We are finally made it. This is the last weekend of the season. I was talking about this on the last episode. I couldn't believe how fast everything went. And here we are. We are at the last weekend. There are, I think, 5 spots in the postseason that still need to be filled. 2 in the American League, and I think 3 in the National League. I know there's 7 teams still fighting for a playoff spot. I'll dive into that a little bit later. But we just got some breaking news that Alex Gordon, after 14 years, has retired from the league. All 14 seasons going with the Kansas City Royals. Never had the overly outstanding career. He was I think it was a number 1 overall pick in the draft, and he never really made it to the point where he was kind of an all-timer, but not many number 1 overall picks have. I think only 2 number 1s overall picks have made it to the MLB Hall of Fame, and with Chipper Jones and Ken Griffey Jr., I might be missing out on a lot, but I think there's only a couple who's actually made it. So for him to have a 14-year big league career, for him to be, I would say an above-average player overall, and a very, very good defensive player overall for most of those seasons. He had a great career, and he won a World Series champion and was one of the big parts of the 2014, 2015 run of the Kansas City Royals, who arguably is one of my favorite World Series champions of the past 20 years. Just the way that they played the game, they played it really old school. They were, we're going to, put pressure on you, and, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the league. We don't care. We're still going to, force you to make those quick decisions. And the Hosmer play where he rushes home, and Lucas Duda, who's been playing in the league for a very long time. He's been a pro's pro for forever. And, he just has a little league moment and just sails the throw at home plate. That was one of those plays where I was like, I get this team. I love the team. I love the Kansas City Royals ever since then, and it was they were just really fun to watch. And then Alex Gordon calls it quits. One of the few. I'm sure he's getting a statue. I think he has. He's probably getting a statue just for being a lifer, like a Kansas City Royal lifer. I could see him, getting memorialized, even though he didn't really did anything too spectacular. He had a lot of Gold Gloves. That'd be kind of like giving Torrey Hunter a statue outside of Target Field, but still, if Torrey Hunter played all of his career at in Minnesota, I could see why they would have given him a statue. And I feel like since there wasn't any success in the Royals organization since George Brett and Bo Jackson and those guys, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they memorialize him? And because, he helped bring a championship, and he honestly never left. So happy trails to Alex Gordon, you had a great career. Nothing too over the top, but he was a fun player to watch at least. So moving back onto the playoffs. So the MLB playoffs starts Tuesday, September 29th. That's when they set to open the wild card round, and there has been a few injuries that could really, really affect how the wild card series plays out starting on Tuesday. So the big one over the weekend was Mike Clevinger of the San Diego Padres. So the San Diego Padres, we went over this in the last episode. First time they've been in the postseason since 2006. They're the Cinderella team. Everybody loves them. But Mike Clevinger, he exited the game on Wednesday afternoon with a 5-2 loss, just after one inning due to a flare-up of bicep tightness that was caused him to get scratched from his start on Saturday. So he had already missed a start with his bicep tightness, and then he goes out on Wednesday. Same thing happens to him. Yikes. So they did further tests, including an MRI, and on the Potes game, and the Padres are still awaiting results up until this point. Their coach ended up saying, we're going to wait for the results and see what the doctors have to say. I don't want to speculate or anything like that because I honestly just don't know. Now, you're probably thinking okay, they're the second best team in the National League. They were, on a killer tear before they got Mike Clevinger. They'll be fine, which arguably is true, yes. I mean, they do have a Cy Young candidate in Lamet. He's definitely going to start game one if Clevinger isn't available. But it does get a little rocky for the San Diego Padres. Once you go down past Lamet, they got Zach Davies and Chris Paddock, which could be fine for a best-of-3 series. All they got to do is win 2. And I bet that, Lamet is going to get the first one. I mean, he has a 2.07 ERA and is a contender for the strikeout title. He's been one of the most dominant pitchers in the league this year. I think that, if you have Lamet on the mound, you have a pretty good shot of, doing some real damage. So now they just got to get one win out of Zach Davies and Chris Paddock, which is not terrible. But when they get into the 7-game series, you got Lamet, Davies, Paddock, and that's pretty much all they really have because they just put Garrett Richards, they put him transitioning to the bullpen, and, the Padres manager has yet to say that anything has changed. So it looks like if Clevinger is not able to bounce back and he's not going to be healthy for the postseason, then they could be running with a 3-man rotation with Lamet, Paddock, and Davies. Now, 3-man rotations that has worked before. I don't know if it will work, throwing every other day. The traveling, less wear and tear, all that kind of stuff, since they're in the bubble. But, I don't know. I don't know how good they'll be able to fare without Mike Clevinger, because Mike Clevinger, let's be honest, he was one of the best pitchers in the American League. The past 3 years, he's been one of the best pitchers in the American League. And then he goes to the National League and does not skip a beat, because there has been pitchers who were dominant in the American League and they switch sides and, go to the National League and they just lose it for some reason. I don't know what it is, but, we've seen it before. We've seen it with position players. We've seen it with pitchers. You see it with everybody. The first time I ever saw it was with Barry Zito. Barry Zito, when I first started coming up liking baseball in, 2000, 2001, 2002, he was the guy. And then, he goes from the Oakland A's and just crosses the bridge over to San Francisco, and next thing you know, he goes from one of the top pitchers in the game to someone who can, hovering between, the bigs, AAA. Is he a long reliever? Is he our 5th starter? And then he had a little comeback in their run in the, with the World Series and all that kind of stuff. They're three titles in 6 years and all that kind of stuff. We saw it with Matt Holliday. Matt Holliday also with the Oakland Athletics. He was killing it in Colorado, goes to the Oakland Athletics, doesn't do that well, and then Oakland gives him up and, gives him to St. Louis. And then he's just out there being old Matt Holliday again, just because I feel like, I don't know what it is, but it's a thing that happens. I don't know why, like I said, I don't know what it is, but that's definitely something that, Clevenger's really, we should, commend him for, because, he was able to transition, from Cleveland to San Diego, completely new area during a pandemic, and was able to just have like a seamless transition with the team. So we'll keep an eye out for Mike Clevenger, but if Mike Clevenger is not able to go, that's a huge blow for the San Diego Padres. And speaking of another huge blow on the rotation, Max Fried of the Atlanta Braves. For now, the hope is that his early exit from his last regular season start was just a precaution to prevent him from furthering messing up, his left ankle. He turned it while fielding a bunt from Starling Marte. He wanted to stay in the game, which is, that's cool. I'm glad you wanted to stay in the game, Max, but, you already clinched a playoff spot. Save yourself. Like, you have to, be smarter about that, especially when it's looking like it's going to be 3 starters. The top 3 pitchers in the Braves rotation going into the postseason are all going to be under the age of 24, 25, I think it is. Max Fried is the oldest. We have him. We have, what was his name? So we have him going. We have Ian Anderson and Kyle Wright. Kyle Wright, that's who it is. We have Cole Hamels, but he's experiencing shoulder fatigue already, and he's only pitched in 2 games, so that's not looking so great for us. Max Fried is one of the best pitchers in the entire game. I don't think he's lost this year. He's 7-0 or 8-0. He's obviously a great Cy Young Award candidate. I think he's probably 4th. I have Darvish. I got Darvish. Bauer, Darvish, DeGrom, then Max Fried for my hierarchy of the Cy Young. Trevor Bauer should win that, especially after the last game that they played. Pretty much pitched him into the postseason. If they can, just hold off all the teams behind him going into to close out the season. I think that, they took over the 8th seed, so it looks like they're going to be in the playoffs this year. Just like I said, they just got to hold off and survive in advance pretty much and get into the postseason. But when with the Braves, back to them. With Max Fried, Ian Anderson is his rookie year. Not even a year. He's had 3 starts, and he's looking at the number 2 starter going on a postseason team. That is lighter than light. That kid is, he's great and everything, but he's way over his head. Way over his head. And, relying on Kyle Wright when he's had one of the most rocky seasons I've ever seen from a starting pitcher. We have held out for Kyle Wright for a long time. We've heard a lot of great about him, and maybe one of these days he'll be able to, kick it into gear. He's kind of like the same as Touki Toussaint, where it's just you hear these things and you see it every once in a while. You see the flashes and you're just like, oh, this guy's incredible if he can just figure it out and be consistent. But it's just are we able to wait long enough to be consistent? Because, we can't rely on Kyle Wright, Ian Anderson, and Max Fried together and be like, okay, well, this is a title team. No, it isn't. Not with that rotation. No, sir. And especially when Max Fried keeps getting hurt. This is the 2nd or 3rd time getting hurt this month. He's had injuries flare up, albeit very, very minor injuries. But he's had injuries pop up, multiple times this year, and it's just not looking good for the guys over there in Atlanta. Moving on to St. Louis, Carlos Martinez, he just grabbed his left side trying to run off to first base. He fell off to the first base side of the mound, grabbed his back. He has a back strain. it could just be because, St. Louis, they missed so much of the season to start the year, and they had to, try and recover so much. They had 13 games in 10 days, and they still somehow had a winning record. They're not looking great right now, offensively. They're only batting .201 on that last road trip with 7 homers. In 8 games, they've been held to 1 hit or less with runners in scoring position, and somehow they won 2 of those games without a hit with runners in scoring position. So it's like they've done their best to just like turn water into wine, I guess, and just power through the obstacles they've set before themselves. Like, their offense has been struggling. We've never seen a Cardinal offense do more with less, I feel, or at least in my life since I've been paying attention. So having someone who is a key person in the pitching staff go down right before the postseason when your offense is struggling, and Carlos Martinez just hucks. He's a phenomenal pitcher, and they're going to need everyone that they can to, hold the runs down so they can, win those games without being able to score with the runner in scoring position, So, huge loss for the St. Louis Cardinals going into the postseason. To pick things up, lastly, let's talk about the Twins. So I was saying that the Twins, it was a huge week for them because they needed to overtake first place in the AL Central to give themselves a chance to move on in the postseason. And who did they rely on to do that? Well, they successfully did it, and it is thanks to Kenta Maeda, probably the most, I would say, surprising, just masterful pitchers in the league this year. He allowed 4 base runners in the last game in 6 innings, 4 hits, no walks, 9 Ks. He lowered his MLB leading whip to 0.76, and in the expansion era since 1961, only 2016 Clayton Kershaw and 2000 Pedro Martinez has pitched at least 60 innings as a starter with a lower whip. Clayton Kershaw and Pedro Martinez, 2 of the greatest pitchers that has ever thrown, 2 of the greatest seasons ever had by a pitcher, and Kenta Maeda is 3rd on that list. And to be fair, he's not even going to win the Cy Young this year because Shane Bieber had 10 or more strikeouts in 8 of his 12 starts. Like, Kenta Maeda should, in any other year, win the Cy Young Award, but Shane Bieber absolutely dominated. It's not like the dominance over the Tigers for the Twins was, some outlier. Maeda retired 12 of his first 14 against the White Sox in his first game with the Twins. He followed up by retiring 18 of 20 against Cleveland, then came in, got 15 of his first 16 against Pittsburgh and Milwaukee, and there was a no-hit bid into the 9th inning against the Brewers. That's the type of year that Kenta Maeda has had. It sucks that he's not going to get more recognition for not only Cy Young, but for MVP, because that dude needs some MVP votes. He has been lights out this year. The one thing that the Minnesota Twins needed last year was another pitcher outside of Jose Barrios, and they got 2 of them. Randy Dobnak has been killing it. Kenta Maeda has been killing it. Rich Hill's been killing it this year, and so is Jose Barrios hasn't really made noise, but he's been one of the most consistent pitchers in the bigs. And speaking of those guys, I'm going to be taking a quick break, and I'll be right back to talk about some of the older vets that have a lot riding on this postseason legacy-wise. I will be right back to talk about that in just a moment.
Listen up, sports bettors. This is your man Bryce here to tell you about my favorite sports book, and that's BetUS. Football, basketball, and baseball are all back, and that means it's time to get down your bets. I only endorse one sports book, and that is BetUS.com. Why, you ask? BetUS is the pioneer in online betting with more than 25 years in the biz. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity, and you need to know that you're going to get paid. You need a sports book that offers everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, entertainment, and all kinds of crazy prop bets and futures. Nobody in the industry gives bigger bonuses than BetUS. Go to betus.com now and fill out your information. It only takes a minute. When you get to the "How did you hear about us" box, type in "My name Bryce" or "GSMC Basketball Podcast," and you can get up to 150% in bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. I bet at BetUS, and so should you. Join BetUS today, and don't forget to type in my name or the show name, GSMC Basketball, to get up to 150% bonus on your first deposit. That's betus.com.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, everybody, we are back. So let's talk about the best topic to talk about in all of barbershops when it comes to sports. It's legacy. So when remembering and, going over the greats of sports, whoever they are, you always talk about, what they did, and always that argument, who was better, and then everything is always based off, what did they do? What did their career look like? What was their lasting legacies? And it normally comes down to winning championships. So we got some star-studded players who are still looking for their very first ring, and they do not have a lot of time left. And so I'm going to be going over some players who really, really need their ring. I would say not need their ring, but have a lot to gain from winning a ring if they were able to get one this season. First and foremost, you have to start off with one of the best pitchers of the past decade. Just absolutely out of his mind, was in the playoffs every single season of the past 10 years and never won a title. I'm not saying the best, but one of the best. It is Zach Greinke of the Houston Astros. The reason I have Zach Greinke first is because he's played 17 seasons in the bigs, and he is 37 years old. He came so close to winning a ring last year with Houston, but he started Game 7 against the Nationals. He was great through 6 innings, left the game holding a 2-0 lead, and then Washington went on to win the game. Garrett Cole is now in New York. You got Justin Verlander down for the season. Greinke is the number one go-to ace for the Houston Astros this year. And, it's kind of all on his shoulders. It really hasn't been all on his shoulders in the postseason. Whenever he went, it was, he went with the, I think he started off with the Angels. He went with the Angels when he was there for about 6 weeks before he left and went to the Dodgers. Went to the Dodgers. He was on there for a while, and then he went to Arizona, and I think he got one playoff series with Arizona. He may have missed the playoffs with Arizona, and then they trade him to Houston, and he is arguably the third starter when he's in Houston. He's never been the number one guy in the postseason, and this is his time. This is his time to shine. Zach Greinke, show us what you can do. You do not have a lot of time left, my friend, especially with a 56-mile-an-hour eFIS, quote-unquote. I don't even call it an eFIS. That's just a really, really slow curveball. Speaking of big and now slow curveballs, number 2 on the list, we have Clayton Kershaw of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, everybody knows that Clayton Kershaw easily, hands down, best pitcher of the 2010s. There's no debate. You can say, in the postseason, he did whatever. Who cares? During the regular season, he was the most unstoppable pitcher the game's ever. You could argue the game has ever seen. Like, his 10-year run was absolutely nuts. And the one thing that trips me out, especially after reading this, he's only 32. Like, I think Clayton Kershaw has been in the league forever. Like, I don't remember a season without Clayton Kershaw. Ever. And it's only been 13 years. Like, the dude has so much more time. He's only 32 years old. And if he's throwing like Greinke, that means he's got 5 more years of being a great pitcher. You know, he needs to win a championship sooner or later. Like, if he goes down without winning a title, it will be, like, heartbreaking. You know, he's got, let's see, what do we got here? You know, in his playoff career, he's got 9 different seasons where he's been in the postseason. He's at 158 in the third innings. He's got a 4.43 playoff ERA, which is 2 runs higher than his marks in the regular season. You know, that's not great, but everybody knows his struggles earlier in his career. But, you know, it seems like after that, he was always the guy that, you know, got left in too late. It's like Pedro Martinez in 2003. You know what I'm saying? It's like Bill Simmons has, when he does the rewatchables, it's like, the Grady Little managerial F-up? Like, what was the managerial F-up here? And he calls it the Grady Little managerial F-up because he had the right time to pull Pedro, giving up hit after hit after hit, and he leaves him in the game. And, you know, he just ends up losing the game. So you look like, you know, Pedro Martinez choked that game away when, you know, he should have been out. He did his job. And Clayton Kershaw was the same way. You know, he was always in the game way later than he should have been. And then, you know, he gives up Matt Stairs and Matt Adams homers. And, you know, those pictures will forever live in Dodger infamy. So I think that's one thing that they're starting to do better, which is lowering his ERA in the postseason. So we'll see how they handle him in the postseason this year, especially with, you know, Walker Buehler not being too, you know, steady this year. You know, the rise of Derek May and, you know, all the pitchers that they have down in LA. We'll see what they have to do with all of them over there. Moving on, we got Joey Votto next. Joey Votto has been in the league for 14 seasons. He's 37 years old. One of the best hitters. I'm not saying the best, but one of the best hitters of the past 10 years. You know, he's never advanced past the NL Divisional Series. He's got a 250 batting average, a 324 on-base percentage, and a 250 slugging percentage career postseason line. You know, he's got a pretty decent power surge going through him right now. He could get redemption. This team is rather hot. They have the pitching staff to keep them going. Maybe it just took them a little while to figure it out. Who really knows? You know what I'm saying? So Joey Votto is a great candidate for, you know, legacy-wise, because if he's able to, you know, get really hot, this pitching staff, you know, brings that Trevor Bauer-like energy onto the field. You know, there's a chance. You know, there is a chance that he can go down as, you know, one of the great ones just off one playoff run. I don't even think he has to win necessarily. Like, if he wins, cool, whatever. But, you know, even if he doesn't win, I think that just getting to the NLCS, even if the World Series, like, you know, he's going to get his roses. And honestly, if he's able to make it to the World Series and not win, I don't know if he'll be back next year, to be completely honest with you. He may ride out his contract, but I'm not really sure. Moving on, we have a guy who's on the fringe of the playoffs. Probably not going to do a whole bunch once the playoffs start. Just, you know, playing devil's advocate here. It's Evan Longoria. So Evan Longoria has been in the league for 13 years. He is 35 years old. Everybody remembers him from, you know, winning Rookie of the Year in 2008. You know, he carried the Rays to their first postseason. You know, he advanced all the way to the World Series in their first postseason. You know, but in the World Series, Longoria went 1 for 20. in those 5 games against the Phillies. He's yet to return to the World Series, and he hasn't played in the postseason at all since 2013. This Giants team, they weren't really supposed to do much, but, they're kind of surprising everybody. It'd be nice to see Evan Longoria back in the postseason, especially because, 35 years old, doesn't have a ton of time left, but he's one of those players that you really want to see. You really just want to see him play. That's really all it boils down to. Is get Evan Longoria to the postseason, even if it's with those terrible Giants. Moving on, we have a shaky character, to say the least. Ryan Braun of the Milwaukee Brewers. He's the all-time home runs leader in Brewers history. He's going to become a free agent after the season's over. He has a $15 million mutual option for 2021. Probably going to pick that up. I don't see him getting $15 million next year from any team. Unless he wants to win the World Series, then he's probably going to go to New York or somewhere. But Brewers fans, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but I can see him. I can see him staying. It's possible that he has played his final game at Miller Park. Maybe. There is a possibility, so I throw that out there. But don't really think so. Braun. If he can power them to the World Series, once again, I don't think they will, because I think they're on the outside looking in of the the playoff picture right now. I don't think he's got it. I don't think the Brewers are going to be able to do it. It would take a massive power. It would have to be the Washington Nationals of last year. He would have to turn into Juan Soto and just do something absolutely insane that we really have not seen before for him to for them to get to the World Series, especially with their pitching the way it is. But Ryan Braun definitely has a lot to gain from I would say, a really good to great playoff situation. Here's somebody I've always wanted to see succeed. I don't necessarily love the team, but if this player goes on to win a World Series, I'll be happy, and it's Andrew McCutchen. Andrew McCutchen, he's 34 years old. He's played 12 seasons. The farthest I think he's gone in the postseason was the divisional or the wild card games, where I think he went to 2 back-to-back in 2012 and 2013. No, those weren't even a thing then. What was it? Man, when did he go? I think the first 2 wild card games the Pittsburgh Pirates went to, and they just happened to lose those games, which is a major bummer. I always wanted Andrew McCutchen to go further in the postseason. I think that Pittsburgh in the playoffs for the for the Pirates was always, both times that they were there, I'd never seen Pirates fans at games, and then they just showed up, showed out, and it looked like it made some lives hell, on that field. So, just seeing what he's done. He was the 2013 NL MVP. He's homerless in 13 playoff games. He's got a 600 on-base plus slugging. I just hope he does well. I honestly just hope he does well. If Philly does make it to the postseason and they make a run, even though I don't like the Phillies at all, I won't be mad. I think, it's good for baseball to see him out there winning. Moving on, we got Nelson Cruz. So Nelson Cruz is 40. He's been in the league for 16 years. Everybody remembers he was, kind of the scapegoat of, the David Freese triple in the 2011 World Series Game 6. He's also one of the best, hitters in playoff history. He's one of the best hitters, not a great fielder. I don't know why he was out in right field in that series. That was colossally stupid. With 150 playoff appearances, playoff plate appearances, he's got a 1.012 OPS, which ranks 5th all time behind Babe Ruth, Albert Pujols, George Brett, and Carlos Beltran. 5th all time in playoff OPS. they're going to need every single bit of that. I think that they're facing off against the Houston Astros, if I'm not mistaken. So Nelson Cruz is going to be huge for that series. He could go down as one of the best DHs ever if, the Twins are able to put out this magical postseason run that everybody kind of wants them to have. Like, if you're not rooting for the Minnesota Twins, what are you doing? You have to be just a Yankee fan or something like that, or a hater. Moving on, I call him Nelson Cruz Jr. Turns out they've been in the league the exact same amount of years, but one is just 3 years older. It's Edwin Encarnacion. So Edwin Encarnacion, age 37, 16th year in the bigs. He's had some amazing battles in the playoffs, especially when he was with the Blue Jays and that Texas Rangers series. That was an incredible battle. I loved every minute of it. The Edwin Encarnacion, he brings so much to the table, not just in the postseason, but, just to that White Sox lineup with all that youth there, that experience is unparalleled. Like, you need that experience. And, he's I would say he could be pretty undervalued, and especially if they're going to be the team that's playing the Yanks, because they're going to match up. They're the 4th seed. The Yanks are the 5th seed. They're going to be in Guaranteed Field in, the south side of Chicago. What's going to happen? Nobody really knows. I think that makes the playoffs infinitely more interesting, too. The fact that the White Sox are playing the Yankees and not the Twins, because we know the Twins are just going to see it, and they're going to deer in the headlights, roll over, and it's done. But the White Sox, I think the White Sox are just young and cocky enough to not care about what the Yankees have to say or do. And it's going to be beautiful to watch. I cannot wait. I really do hope that is the series moving forward. Moving on, we got Nick Markakis of the Atlanta Braves. Now, Nick Markakis has been in the league for 15 years. He's age 36, kind of running out of time, especially, he's not a power hitter, so that doesn't really justify him, going into a DH role unless, their lineup is stacked with power and they just need some guy to drive in runs, probably in like the 6th or 7th hole. That's where he would probably do his best damage. I'm glad he did decide to play, but this year, in the last 2 seasons, which were Atlanta's LDS losses, he's batted 121, 216, and 152. He's not doing a great job. The Braves have yet to win a postseason series since 2001. I think Nick Markakis is definitely, he needs to be the regular season Nick Markakis for the Braves to, actually do something in the postseason. I don't know who they're faced to play against right now, mainly because that will change, but my guess it's probably going to be the Miami Marlins, and if that is the case, then boy howdy, just hold on tight, Braves fans. There's something about the postseason where I just don't trust it. I mean, they haven't won a playoff series since I started watching baseball, so I mean, what can we really do? Moving on, we only got one more actually. So, lastly, I think this is a big legacy guy, mainly just for, because he's incredibly underrated. I think he's really an underrated player, and is Michael Brantley. Michael Brantley's been in the league for 12 years. He's age 33. He's a very underrated hitter. He was in the World Series a few years ago when the Indians lost to the Chicago Cubs. He was also, Michael Brantley struck out against Daniel Hudson to end Game 7 of the 2019 World Series. He kind of just needs a bounce back. I think he's still kind of reeling from that. He hasn't had a year, really to rely on. He's batted .299 in each of his past 6 seasons. Like, he just happens to end with a .299 batting average all the time. He brings a lot of stability to the lineup because you know what you're getting out of him. He's kind of like Nick Markakis. Like, you just kind of know what you're getting from him. So Michael Brantley has a lot to his legacy this postseason. And speaking of postseasons, I'm going to be taking a quick break, and I will be right back to go over the standings entering the last weekend of the season. We have 5 teams that still have a shot. They still do have a shot of making the postseason. I will be talking about that and what the what the seating looks like, all that stuff. I will be right back.
If you haven't heard that Dollar Shave Club has great razors, let me be the first to welcome you to the club. Stop buying expensive razors out of habit and start thinking about joining Dollar Shave Club today, right now. Try out Dollar Shave Club's Ultimate Shave Starter Set for a one-time trial offer for only $5 plus free shipping. After that, you can continue to get unimaginably smooth shave as razor refills ship at regular prices right to your door as often as you want. I highly recommend the shave butter as it makes your skin feel very soft right afterwards, fights razor bumps, and leaves your skin in just such great shape. You know, certain shave gels don't do that, but this shave butter from Dollar Shave Gel does the job. So ditch your overpriced razor and join the club today with Dollar Shave Club Ultimate Shave Starter Set for only $5. It has everything you need in order for it to be a shave 6-blade razor, shave butter, prep scrub, and post-shave dew. All shipped right to wherever you call home nowadays. After the first box, razor refills ship at razor prices on the schedule you want. Try Ultimate Shave Starter Set today for just $5 plus free shipping at dollarshaveclub.com/GSMC basketball. That's dollarshaveclub.com/GSMC basketball. Welcome to the club.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, everybody, we are back. Now, can you tell how excited we all are for the postseason? It's the number one topic. It's just like the trade deadline. It's just like winter meetings. It's just like free agency. What's happening? Where's it going to go? How do you feel it's going to go? And here we are. We got the last weekend of the season. So the clinch spots are A's, Braves, Dodgers, White Sox, Rays, Twins, Yanks, Padres, Cleveland, and the Cubs. So, we still have 5 teams that are in the hunt for the postseason. 2 of them are in the AL West, and then the next 3 are all National League teams. So everybody in the American League is gone besides the Angels, of all people, and the Mariners. The Angels are 2.5 games back of Houston. The Mariners are 3 games back of Houston. Now, that is crazy to think about, especially since the Angels were doing so poorly. So let's go baseball reference. Let's see who they're playing in the last, week of the season, or last weekend, sorry. So they got a 3-game set with the Dodgers. They are not going to make it. I'm sorry to Angel fans. They are not going to make it. They're just not. Andrew Heaney is on the mound against the Dodgers today. What's today? 24th? Tomorrow. So while you're listening to this, there's a night game. Angels, Dodgers. Andrew Heaney's on the mound. Good luck. Dylan Bundy, you have the best chance of winning that game. But yeah, the Angels, sorry, buddy. You guys are not making it. We went and looked at the Seattle Mariners. They have a pretty rough opponent, I think. Yeah, the Oakland A's, they have a 4-game set against Oakland. They're 3 games back. And then, if I remember correctly, Houston has a 3-game set with Texas. 4-game set with Texas. They got Christian Javier on the mound. Jose Urquidy. Sorry, he's facing Kyle Cody. Then you got they've yet to announce who they're going to pitch, but they're throwing against Kyle Gibson and Jordan Lyles. So, not looking too great for all those Angel and Seattle fans. But, it leads to some excitement heading into the last week of the year. We'll see. Of course, we're going to monitor that. I'm sure one of those games is going to be Zach Greinke throwing, especially if they need a clinching game. Like, if they need a game, magic number's 1, win and you're in, Zach Greinke's getting the ball. Let's go to the National League. So the Phillies are a half game behind Miami. 1 full game back of the wild card. The Brewers are 1 game back of the wild card, also tied with the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Mets are 3.5 games back. That is crazy. Like, that is so nuts. Who's in it right now? You got the Giants are the 7th seed. The Reds are the 8th seed. Nuts. Wild end of the year. Absolutely insane. I don't know who's going to take it in the NL. I'm going to say that the Phillies are going to move in over the Giants. I don't think the Giants are going to win. I don't think the Giants are going to be into the postseason. I don't think they have enough, and even if they do, I just don't believe in them. I don't. I want Evan Longoria in, but I can't really trust the Giants this year. I just can't do it. Sorry. What can I say? I'm completely biased sometimes, and I'm just going to ride with it. So, let's pretend that the Phillies, I'll put the Phillies as the 8th seed. I'll move the Reds to the 7th. And we're just going to ride the opening series out like that. So, in which case, we would have the Dodgers versus the Phillies. Now, that bodes for an interesting series because the Dodgers pitching isn't spectacular, and the Philadelphia offense is very good. I really do like watching Philadelphia's offense. I try not to admit it, but their offense is amazing. Their bullpen is a little bit shaky. Their starting rotation is very hit or miss. So the Dodgers can really capitalize on that and do a lot of damage. But could potentially lead to an upset, I feel. Especially if Bryce Harper is out here going 110%. Alec Baum is out here raking. You got Rhys Hoskins doing his thing, launching missiles. You got JT Realmuto, who's the number 1 free agent on the market this next season. He's buying for a brand new contract. He is going to be going above and beyond. There is so much boom or bust. Didi Gregorius has been striking out at his career low rate. He's been doing incredible this year. There is so many things going right for the Phillies. I feel there could, especially in a 3-game series, we could see a 1-8 upset if the Phillies go to the postseason as the 8th seed. Moving on, we'll go to the Braves and the Reds. If the Braves play the Reds in the first round of the postseason, the Reds will win that series. They will, 100%. Luis Castillo and Trevor Bauer versus an injured Max Fried and Ian Anderson. Sorry. it's a 2-0 sweep and we're out. That's just how it's going to go. That's what I'm gearing for, and I'm just accepting it now. Like, there's no need to fight back on it. Just accept it. It is what it is, Braves fans. I'm with you. I can't wait for another, 6 months of pure sadness watching everybody else have fun besides us. But it is what it is. What can we really do? It happens all the time. Moving on, we have the Cubs and the Marlins. I feel like this one favors... It's the most lopsided. I feel like the Cubs win 100 times out of 100 against the Marlins in this series. Like, I get that the Marlins are kind of spunky and they're, doing way better than anybody ever thought they would be. But, the Cubs, they just have the more experience. They have the more fight. They just are a better team. So I feel like they would move on. And then lastly, let's go to the Padres and the Cardinals. Now, this is going to be a very interesting series. I don't think that it's going to go 3 games. I think the Padres are going to come in and just, kind of do their thing, as they always do. They're going to come in. They're going to rake. They're going to do great things against that pitching staff of the St. Louis Cardinals. And, their pitching staff is going to take advantage of, what the Cardinals are doing, which is absolutely nothing offensively. So we'll see. I guess we'll see how it goes. But, the Padres have 2 MVP candidates. They have the Rookie of the Year in their starting lineup. Mitch Moreland is great. Eric Hosmer is great. Like, they're just too deep of a team. I don't see that going very well. Moving on to the American League. So we have the Rays and the Blue Jays. As much as I do like the Blue Jays and how much fun I had watching them this year, no chance to beat the Rays. I got the Rays moving past them free and easy. Now, this is interesting. It's not the most interesting, but it's interesting. The A's in Cleveland. You get Bieber. You get probably Carrasco versus, Sean Manaea. I would say Sean Manaea, maybe. And probably Chris Bassett for the Oakland A's. That's one hell of a pitching series right there, just off those 2 games alone. That's going to be one amazing series. Like, I feel like the American League is jam-packed with great... This is going to be such a great playoffs. Because you can't even guarantee that one team's going to win. Like, there's normally a series like the Dodgers versus the Braves a couple years ago. It's like, yeah, the Dodgers are going to come in, they're going to ransack them, and then they're going to leave. And that's exactly what happened. This one, I don't even see that. I don't see any of these happening. You got the Twins and the Astros. I feel like the Twins are going to win that series just because the Astros pitching staff is bad. But, besides that, like, what is there? The White Sox and the Yankees? Who wins that? Who wins that series? A lot of people are going to say the Yankees, but the Yankees were so bad 3 weeks ago. And then they came out and they were so bad, and then now they're so hot, and they're one of the hottest teams in the league. You got the Chicago White Sox who were riding the highs to highs, and now they're, kind of tailing down, but who says that they can't just be sparked right back up? You have some major swagger in Luke Voit, Gleyber Torres, those guys, versus incredible swagger of Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez. We got offense, the pitching staffs. It's just who's going to pitch better. Is Dallas Keuchel going to come back and do his thing? Like, there's so many question marks that need to be answered. I cannot wait to watch it. It is going to be an incredible series. And speaking of what you need to watch, I am going to be taking my final break, and we will close the show the right way. What to watch for. I will be right back after these messages.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
All right, everybody, thank you for sticking around. So, as normally happens, we got some incredible pitching matchups coming up this weekend, and it is looking incredible. So I have Friday night and Saturday night up. Starting off Friday, we have Jack Flaherty on the mound versus the Milwaukee Brewers. Big series right here. Brewers still have a chance to make the postseason. Jack Flaherty is going to try and put a stop to that. What more could you really want? Moving on after that, you got Rick Porcello versus Max Scherzer. You have Max Scherzer on the mound, last start of the season, closing out the series, or the season strong. I mean, what more could you want? Just kind of put in a little bit, an exclamation point on the crazy year that was 2020 and, you know, have some sort of momentum for the Washington Nationals rolling into the off season and the, get ready for spring training. Let's see. So we got Taijuan Walker on the mound for the now playoff-bound Toronto Blue Jays. Crazy to say. You know, you got Taijuan Walker throwing against Jorge Lopez of the Baltimore Orioles. Just, I'm mainly just Taijuan Walker. I mean, come on. So you got, let's see, Antonio Senzatella versus Taylor Clark. That's a pretty decent pitching matchup right there. You got, Vince Velasquez versus Charlie Morton. I get geeked every time I see a Charlie Morton curveball, and I don't think that's ever going to change. Anytime I try and watch the Tampa Bay Rays play, it is pretty much just every time Glasnow and Morton throws. Just because I want to see Glasnow's slider, Morton's curveball, and I just want to sit back in a chair being dumb, fat, and happy watching these games. Just seeing the rotation of the ball and just how stupid people look trying to actually hit that thing. Moving on, you got Sandy Alcantara versus J.A. Happ. Sandy Alcantara, who is going to be a great pitcher, give him a couple years. Maybe next year, I would say, could be his big leap up there with Sixto Sanchez. You got J.A. Happ, who's looking to build some momentum going into the postseason, especially if he has to play against that treacherous, that's right, people, I use the word treacherous, White Sox lineup. Like, he needs a good start here, and he really needs to get some momentum and build on that momentum. Speaking of building momentum, Boston versus Atlanta, Chris Mazza versus Kyle Wright. Kyle Wright needs a good start so bad. Like, so bad. He needs a good start, and if he can, get a pretty decent one, just to, snowball effect into the postseason, it will be a major relief for Braves fans moving forward. Let's see, we got Cookie Carrasco versus Mitch Keller. That's going to be a great one. Chris Paddock versus Tyler Anderson. I'm more of a, as everybody knows, I'm more of a Chris Paddock guy anyways, but Tyler Anderson, he's had some pretty good outings this year. You got the Chicago, what is it? Man, it's not the Subway Series. Every time they play this series, I'm always like, oh, they have this series, but I never remember actually what it is. But North Side versus South Side Chicago, you got Yu Darvish versus Dylan Cease. That's going to be one hell of a matchup. Spencer Turnbull versus Brad Keller. That's a pretty good pitching matchup right there. You got Tyler Male versus Jose Barrios. I get geeked every time I see a Jose Barrios two-seamer. It's just how life goes. He's insane to watch. I really hope that he can, settle down and be more than just a 5-inning pitcher. Let's see. You got Andrew Heaney versus Clayton Kershaw. We said that earlier. You got Yosei Kikuchi versus Chris Bassett. I love watching Kikuchi. I think he's a lot better than what the stats have to say. And Chris Bassett. Chris Bassett is an insanely good pitcher. I love watching Chris Bassett throw. I can't wait till my my Oakland A's hoodie gets in. We have another Colorado-Arizona game to close out the night. Zach Gallen is going to be on the mound for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and then for San Diego, you got Dinelson Lamet I really need to get his name right. I don't think I ever will, but I'm trying. But yeah, you have Lamet on the latter half of the doubleheader with the San Francisco Giants. And moving on to Saturday, just as many good pitchers are throwing. Like, it seems like we just get blessed every weekend with tremendous pitching matchups. Trevor Rogers versus Devi Garcia to start the day. Luzardo versus Sheffield. DeGrom, Anibal Sanchez. John Means has been pretty decent this year. Matt Shoemaker's coming back, getting ready for the postseason. You got Matthew Boyd of the Detroit Tigers. Lance McCullers, Kyle Gibson. Brandon Woodruff. Adam Wainwright. Zach Wheeler, Ryan Yarbrough. John Lester, Dane Dunning, Joe Musgrove, Aaron Saval, Luis Castillo, Michael Pineda, Mike Minor, Herman Marquez, Madison Bumgarner, Dylan Bundy, Johnny Cueto. Like, what more could we want? That is a day full of insanely good pitchers. You got, Cincinnati versus Minnesota. Cincinnati is hanging on for dear life to the, last spot in the playoffs. And they got to play against the Minnesota Twins, who are still trying to clinch the AL Central Division, be the number 2 seed in the postseason, doing everything they can to hold off the Chicago White Sox so they don't have to play the Yankees. What more could you want out of that? You have 3 games on Fox, DeGrom versus Sanchez. You got Brandon Woodruff and Waino, and you have Zach Wheeler versus Ryan Yarbrough. Great pitching matchups there. It doesn't look like we have any double headers to close out the year. My favorite pitching matchup, surprisingly, is actually Jesus Luzardo versus Justice Sheffield. I think that's going to be one insane game, especially if they're able to, if the Seattle Mariners are able to fight back, and if it's in a year, you win, you're in type situation, that would be absolutely nuts. You got a new guy, Huascar Yanoa for the Atlanta Braves. He's facing off against Tanner Hoek. I'm going to be watching that just because I've never heard of this guy. I'm going to click on this guy because I've actually never heard of him. Is he a new guy? Oh, he looks like he's an opener. Yeah, he's... Oh, wait, game started. Huh. I've actually never heard of this guy before. But it looks like they're going to do the opener. Yeah, because he's only throwing, 2 innings, 3 innings, 4 innings, 3 innings. Yeah, so he's an opener. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I'm like, who the heck is this guy? I've never heard of him before. But, yeah, you have him throwing for the Braves, finishing up their season against Boston. Great season, you guys. Please just, for everything, just do better. Actually, I am noticing. Seattle and Oakland, they do have a doubleheader on Sunday. Sweet. Hell yeah, more baseball. Let's see, you got Dylan Bundy versus Tony Gonsolin. Not a bad matchup there. Let's see, keep going. John Lester, Dane Dunning, that's going to be a great game. I wonder how many homers they're going to hit off John Lester. Probably, I would say, if I put the over-under at 4.5, I might actually take the over. I think 5 is probably going to be what they get. Let's see. I do like watching Matthew Boyd. I think I'm definitely going to be playing the Detroit Tigers and the Kansas City Royals this weekend. All right, everybody, that is going to be our show. I will see you all on Tuesday to just, get us all ready for the playoffs. I can't express that enough. We are at next episode, we will be in the playoffs, and it's going to be oh so very sweet. You can follow me on Instagram at EvanWorley23. You can play me in Tap Baseball. I will take your lunch money in Tap Baseball. You don't stand a chance. I would like to also thank you for listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask you to please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review because it really does help us out. Also, if you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, thank you all and have a great weekend.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.